Okay, and we're back. So we did the bad behavior section where you had to have the student name. Okay, so the student did something wrong that they're in trouble for. And then underneath the bad behavior section, remember up here, we said that if they clicked on positive, they got to go to section 4. If they click on negative, we're going to section 3. Um, so section 3 would be bad, section 4 would be good behavior. And then we move on to the next section. So this is where it gets a little tricky. And as you can see, I had to go back and add positive at the end of this document because I had forgotten that kids do good things too in this quest for tracking everything that they did wrong. I forgot that they do things that are right too. And so that's the reason that you see that section 86 says positive merits, because I had to add it at the end. And it was an afterthought, so I had to come back in here and add a section for all this. But if they've done something bad, they're going to move on to section 5. And this is infraction 1. Now, each one of these pages has to be named infraction because each student gets sent to a different infraction page. If I sent everybody to the same infraction page, obviously the responses are going to record that, Jimmy and Bobby did something wrong. They got put in the behavior tracker. And then we find out, that Jimmy didn't do anything wrong. We go back and try to fix it, but we only had one section and Jimmy and Bobby both they both have infractions in there and it's counting against both of them. Even though they both did one thing wrong, it's going to show 2 infractions. So each child has to have their own infraction section, and there is no easy way to do this. So I've done it for you. If you try to copy a section, like if you're like, okay, I did this, I'm going to, I put the infraction number. So they're allowed to these kids get lots of chances. They get 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They have to, it's got to be a bad week for them to get sent home on a suspension. But because of, us trying to be fair, and I work in a low socioeconomic minority school that is disproportionately, what's it called? What is the name of that? They're disproportionately punished. We have to have documentation to show, look, we gave them plenty of chances. This is what's going on here. And this is a pattern of behavior. And we need the documentation to prove this in order for teachers to be able to cover themselves so that they're not in trouble for disproportionately, handing out punishments or handing out infractions. It's not really, can't really call it punishment anymore. But infractions 1 through 12. So the very first infraction, we're going to move into the interventions that you do, but you would first click on the infraction and it would take you to the next section. What did you do about the infraction? Did you move the child? Did you redirect them? Did you give them a timeout or allow them to breathe for a minute and take a breath if they're like really angry? Just depends on what the behavior is as to what kind of intervention we're going to use. But here's what I'm saying. This is not an easy section to do because I had to hand input all of these sections. You cannot copy them and paste them into a new section because when you try to copy, it duplicates it, but it puts it in the same section. And then it causes the whole issue. So we're giving our kids 12 chances a week before they, get in real trouble. So you're going to use this and you're going to create your next sections. So I've done section 5. I've done section 6, and it's going to continue all the way down. And you have to do this for, I'm looking. These are all infractions. Infractions. Okay, we're getting there. Now we're down to behavior. So there's actually sections, there's 22 sections of infractions. You have to have one for each student, and up here I believe I put 22 students in for bad behavior. So, and I'm sorry, I know it looks like a lot of scrolling, but it takes a lot to get back up. But each child has to have a corresponding infraction sheet to go to. And that's what makes this document so complicated. It seems complicated to put together at first, but once it's done, it works beautifully, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Once it's created once, that's it. You're done. So that is your next step. You're going to go ahead and make an infraction sheet in a separate section for each one of your students. And I would suggest, if you're going to do this yourself and you want to make your own from scratch, I would suggest that you give yourself extra students and extra infraction sheets, because you know how it is in a classroom when students leave and then they come back, or if a student moves in the middle of the school year, it just makes things so much more seamless if you already have spaces for those students and infraction sheets for those students as they get there.